Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Diermeier. I'm the Provost of the University of Chicago. But today I'm really here in my role as former Dean of the Harris School. What a marvelous evening. What a marvelous day. I still remember when I arrived at the school, a little bit over 5 years ago, we were celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Harris School. And what we found 5 years ago was a strong foundation in place. We had great alumni, with alumni that were leading state agencies, that were leading federal agencies. We had senators, we had congressmen, both in the United States and in other countries. We had ministers, we had Silicon Valley executives, and we had leaders of nonprofits that were making a difference in areas ranging from tuberculosis to blindness, from India to Cambodia. We had great faculty. We had faculty that were working on applying behavioral economics to parenting and improving literacy skills for young children. We had faculty that were working on terrorism and state building. We had faculty that were working on youth violence and how to think about improving health administration across the country and in many different communities. So all of that was in place. And I think what we needed was a commitment to write the next chapter in the history of the Harris School together and to take what was the foundation, was already a strong foundation, to the next level. And the key to that, as all of you know, is to be clear of our own identity, what we stand for, and what the core values of the Harris School are. And they're so easy to say. It's all about educating policy leaders that put evidence first. And as you've heard today in the video and in the speeches, this is a time when this is more needed than ever. Once we had this in place, the only question was, how do we realize this? How do we put the strategy together to make this vision a reality? And of course, the core component and the core element of that was this magnificent building, how to conceptualize it, how to think about it, and how to put all the different pieces together. For those of you that have heard me talk about it, you know that I'd like to develop these kind of numbers, 2 by 20, and all these types of things that were the structural foundations of what we're trying to do. So I'm going to have 2 plus 4 plus 4 this time. And the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank 2 presidents that were at the beginning and now today and made a tremendous contribution, not only to the University of Chicago, but to the Harris School. I had the pleasure today of sitting next to President Emerita Hannah Gray, and we were reminiscing a little bit on the early days of the Harris School, when things were not so easy, when the transition from a committee to a school took a lot of courage and was a significant risk. Of course, it's the youngest of all the schools at the University of Chicago. At the time, it was a big transformation. And if you read Hannah Gray's biography, she reflects on that a little bit and some of the challenges. But the most important sentence is, and now the Harris School is thriving after 30 years. And if you know Hannah, that's high praise. And then the second person I'd like to thank is President Bob Zimmer. First, I want to thank him for hiring me. That's enough. But more importantly, for being a strong advocate and supporter from when these ideas and when these concepts were still in their infancy, and to make sure that as we moved forward, we could pursue this ambitious strategy. And then, of course, I moved over to work even more closer with Bob and the provost office. I couldn't be happier about the last 2.5 years. So you said 2 plus 4 plus 4. The next are 4 deans. And these are 4 deans, I think, that played an enormously important role in the history of the school. Bob Michael, who took on a challenge that I can only imagine, to be the founding dean of a school, to define its mission, to locate it within the core values of the University of Chicago, and to set Harris on a path where it is now thriving. Susan Mayer. Susan, who was the one who really conceptualized the need for a new building, how to think about it, how essential it was, and how critical it was to have a concept that will allow the school to go to the next level. Coleman Murkytike, who was my immediate predecessor and who tirelessly worked on moving this plan forward, who put the different pieces together that then we could bring together and at the end of the day have this beautiful building. And then my successor, Kate Baker, who has been a great partner over the last, 1 year and 3/4 now? Almost 2. And I couldn't be happier, Kate, of where you've taken the school, how much it is thriving, and the wonderful student body, the expansion of the student body, and the wonderful faculty that we have hired. And then I want to thank 4 more people. They were key supporters. King Harris, who had advocated for this building for many years, who was supportive of the school when sometimes this could be a lonely place, and when not everybody kind of could see right away what a magnificent project the Harris School was and how important it was that it stood for. He and his wife Karen have become dear friends over the years, and of course they and their family have provided the naming gift for the forum that now sits at the heart of the building. Then of course there's Joan. And the Irving Harris Foundation, which has not only kept the spirit of the original vision that Irving put together over 30 years together, but have provided over many, many years critical student-focused efforts, support for students, and this ongoing support for our students makes it possible to develop the next generation of policy leaders. Thank you, Joan, and I think Irving would be proud. Dan Levin and Faye Hartog-Levin, who provided generous support and constant encouragement, and after whom the beautiful Dean Suite is now mentioned, which I walked by this morning with a little ping of jealousy because I had high hopes, but life took me in a different direction. And of course, none of us would be standing here in the Keller Center without Dennis and Connie Keller, who understood immediately how transformative a world-class building could be for an academic enterprise such as the Harris School. Dennis, I still remember our lunch on the terrace of the Chicago Club, where you convinced me right away that the Harris School needed a new building and that it had to be a place that reflected the spirit and the identity of this great school. I want to thank all of you that contributed to this, all of our supporters, all of our donors, all of our alumni, all of our students. I said 5 years ago at Harriet's 25th anniversary that we were proud, but we were not satisfied. Today, at Harris's 30th anniversary and the dedication of the Keller Center, I couldn't be more proud of where we are. But I also know that the best and the wonderful and magnificent future of the Harris School is still ahead. Thank you very much.